I will call the regular meeting of Irmo County Council to order, and I will recognize Councilwoman Kathy Conlon for the pledge of allegiance and invocation.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, give us the grace and the wisdom to know the right things to do for our community and the right things to do in our life. Keep those that are overseas fighting for us in good health and bring them home safely. And let us have a little end to the heat, please, Lord. If it's in your vision, we would appreciate it. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Next item on the agenda is the reading of the minutes from July 21st. Is there a motion for approval as written?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor then of the minutes being approved as written, please show a show of hands. Next item is administrative briefing. Mr. Brown, anything you need to add?
A couple reminders, the filing for this year's election opens up this Friday, 12 o'clock, and we'll go 2 weeks in the 21st. Grading will start this Thursday for the new public works building downhill, just so you know. Panels have been ordered for our roof here, but we're expecting them in the next couple of weeks, so we can get the roof repaired. Put a packet in front of you from Moore Taylor Law Firm. Mr. Moore asked me to pass those out to you to look over. It's not an agenda item, nothing. And that's all I have.
Any questions of Mr. Brown on the briefing?
You said that the panels were ordered for the roof.
Yes, sir.
We didn't work out a deal with the contractor to do it together.
No, this is a separate contract. The ones that are working on the Chamber of Commerce, they reduced the mobilization cost.
Okay.
Next item is receipt of communication, and we had on here for a lady, Jennifer Rackley, with Waste Industries to be here, but she called today and wanted to reschedule for the next meeting. So the company need to kind of work some stuff in there.
Just put it back out for the 18th.
Yeah. And the only thing, I'm gonna talk to her Thursday, because she did say something about, she didn't know if she wanted to be under receipt of communication or be somewhere on the agenda where they could do a presentation, but I don't know.
It's your call.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait till I don't think she's gonna be paying this, introduce herself to us.
I mean, I know Councilman Jim would like to get some more information about project services.
And that's what I want her to do, to give us the information, and she can give us a big presentation. Then maybe it's a small, maybe I'll just kind of, we can put it under communication and new business or something.
Well, if you talk to her before the 18th, then
Any other receipt of communication?
I've met with some people, and I'm not looking for a discussion here. I just want you all to think about it for the next meeting. But there are now 3 bars on Lake Murray Boulevard, which is fine. That's not for the discussion. That's not what I want you to think about. But because of that, and bars often have bands and football parties, whatever. I think we ought to revisit
up here is,
Next to Dim's children.
used to be catch 22.
The old Atlanta
They
restaurant.
have a band outside.
They have a band. I've driven by there and I've never heard it.
They got pretty good. Now, they used to get a little bit loud, and this
So
brother
they-
used to call. and
I
they
know,
would-
but they
they'd go right
obliged
up there and they would-
every time this phone was called, you know, they hushed it up, so it was good.
Well, she complains now, I'll be worried about it.
She does it to me.
Oh, okay.
I can hear her.
Okay.
But, anyway, it occurs to me we don't have any time limit. You ought to be able to make noise, but after a certain hour, people driving on Lakefront Boulevard after midnight, hearing a blaring noise is liable to be a traffic hazard. Just think about it. Saturday night, break it down.
Okay.
So, it's gonna be on the agenda, and Bob and I are gonna try to come up with something reasonable to write up for the safety of our home.
Are you saying that you're gonna put on the agenda that we're gonna have update
Try
the
to
noise levels?
Update the noise.
I mean, we have one in place now.
We have one in place, but it mainly has to do with the reason it was done,
Yeah.
the loud radios in cars that made a lot of noise.
Okay.
It driving through neighborhoods very late at night.
That's what I'm saying. So, I mean, we already got an ordinance in place now.
But it doesn't give a level of loudness.
Well, and you can
There's no way you can do that.
Yeah, that's,
No. You have to isolate, you have to say that noise that you're recording, that you're measuring, is coming from that source. That means you have to tell all the birds, you have to tell all the trees, you have to tell all the planes not to fly over when you do that.
I think.
There's no way to measure that source and say that that's the source. Well, I mean, you're saying measure it. That's why you can't give a number. You can't say, well, you can't be over 10 decibels because there's no way to tell if that 10 decibels is coming from that source. That's why you don't have a number, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can tell somebody to stop playing after 10 o'clock, not making any noise after 10
That
o'clock.
would be what we-
And that's what we got. But
No,
you
we don't have
can't assign, yes, we do. I thought we had it at 10 o'clock.
Fireworks.
Oh, I thought it was 10 o'clock.
We're gonna look at it again, see what we need to do.
That's fine. Go
Make
ahead.
it more community minded.
Any other city communication?
Yeah, we get the final report from the election, from the Richland County investigation from the oversight.
You talking to me?
Yeah.
I haven't got any, no, from the sheriff, I mean? From him?
Okay, let's say it again. Did you get the final report from the Richland County investigation of the oversight?
I haven't got anything.
And did you want to release your preliminary report?
Any other city communication? Seeing none, next item is presentation by citizens. And this is where anyone who wants to address council on anything that's on the agenda may do so at this time. All we ask is you give us your name and address for the record, and also give us the agenda item that you'd like to address.
Mr. Mayor, George Glassmar, 100 Dunbeck Road. I'd like to address item 9C, please, annexation of the wetland property. I'm opposed to this for a number of reasons. First of all, as I understand it, to get to that property, we'd have to annex the library, and I see no benefit for the town to be annexing the library. It has zero revenue potential. It's going to create a potential extra burden. That's just that much more property that the police department has to protect. That at some point you reach a breaking point with their staffing where they're going to have to add on more staffing to cover the additional annexed properties. Also, it's my understanding that at least part of the rationale for this annexation is to potentially build yet a fourth park in the town on that property to be annexed. I'm opposed to that for a number of reasons. It was my view that we build no parks in this town 2 parks ago. Okay? And Mr. Hutzel, if he was here, I'm sure he would attest to that. We certainly don't need a fourth park in a town this size. And to put a park there, I can't think of a worse place in the town to put it for a number of reasons. First of all, it would be on the fringe of it'd be right on the border of the town. I can't think of a place further away from the core of the residential area of this town than that location. Secondly, I'm pretty familiar with that area, and to put a park there would either abut or come very close to a multi-unit apartment complex that is not in the town, and we would and I'm sure those folks would be utilizing that beautiful park that we would build there and they're not even town residents, and we'd be paying to maintain and protect that for people that don't contribute or live in the town. And my final concern about putting yet another town in is cost overruns. The best example I can give you is park number 3, which I was opposed to, and I was opposed to the park 2 before that. But park 3 down here off Lake Murray Boulevard, I clearly remember, and I had this discussion with Mr. Walker a number of times, he assured the town the cost would not exceed $1 million. Last I checked, it's over $1.8 million. So this council can't seem to stay within budget on parks. So don't build one that I can't afford, that doesn't need to be there. It's in the wrong place, the wrong time, and we don't need it. Don't do it. Thank you.
George, I know you sneak over there and have lunch.
No, I don't. I get home.
Anyone else would like to speak to council on anything on the agenda? Seeing none. Next item is unfinished business, third and final reading of ordinance 1512 to amend the Irmo County Code, boards and commissions, financing expenditures. Is there a motion for third and final reading?
Which one is
This is the one where we're taking out the sentence that says, the initial funds of the commission shall be placed in separate checking account, 2,500. And then we added the stuff, that says the town treasurer will ensure the infrastructure commission has provided proper documentation required for the disbursement of funds. The documentation will include verification from the administrator that the proper account is identified and sufficient funds are available prior to being submitted to the town administrator. Added the sentence and took out the sentence.
I make a motion to whatever it is we're supposed to do.
And is there a second?
Second.
And any discussion? And I kind of already read it there, but yeah, we're taking out that sentence about separate checking account of 2,500, which is really big deal. And we're just clarifying some of the other stuff and better defining all that other stuff. So any more discussion? All in favor then of third and final reading of 1512, do so show of hands. All opposed? Next item is new business approval to purchase Pollock color copier in the amount of $7,209.00. Is there a motion for approval?
I so move because it's for my favorite department, police.
Okay, so this is- Do we need a second on approvals or? Yeah, is there a second? Second. Any discussion? I guess that's it for the police department. Is it replacing one or just a new one or just? Any more discussion? All in favor then of the copier for the police department in the amount of $7,209, so show of hands. All opposed? Next item is the approval of a cash bond in the amount of $23,000 for Rose Oak subdivision, phase 4. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Any discussion? And I guess they're needing one of these, is it bond, cash bond? Yes. And we'll make sure it doesn't expire on.
You don't have to worry about that one.
You'll have it done before.
They're almost finished everything.
Oh, okay, good. So any more discussion? All in favor, do so with show of hands. All opposed? And let's see. Next is a discussion of the possible annexation of the wetland property located off of Bush River Road. I'll put that on the agenda. And the main thing I think we need to do is,
Where's this at? You said-
I'm not sure what the address is, but it's over on Bush River Road. It's that property behind the library property.
Here, I got the map here.
Yeah, you got the map right there.
And see, here is, this side is Bush River Road.
Really?
And that's that subdivision called, Kmart to the right.
Hallmark.
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 Right across the street from that area there. But there's been talk and discussion, as to bringing in the library and then bringing in this other property at some point maybe, that is going to be donated to the Arbor Day. And then at some point, it may be turned into a park, and then possibly turned it over to the county to develop it as a park or just maintain it after the park. The main question I have, and I think we need to resolve before we do anything else, is to make sure that whatever type of wetland it is, whether it's a big wetland or little wetland or whatever, can it be developed into a park? I think the county has received a letter from Arbor Day in regards to that. And they had asked for some items back. One of the things that they wanted from us was a letter of commitment from the town of Irmo that we will accept long-term care of the park, which we may be willing to do.
Who wanted that? Who wanted long-term care?
Joe Burgos wanted a letter of commitment from the town of Irmo.
Where'd that come from? I don't understand where this, did y'all get, did Arbor Day get a commitment or a deed for this property yet?
Oh, I don't know. All I'm concerned about is it coming to us at some point for us to either maintain or develop.
Has anybody offered it to us as an
Well,
annexation?
it's been in the letter, I think, from Mr. Moore to Joe Burgo, that it was anticipated that once the Arbor Day got it, then it would either be turned over to the town or someone else, for development or
Okay, so
for maintenance.
So how do you get a library out of it? How do you get a park out of it?
Because the letter that Mr. Moore wrote to Joe Burgo said that they'll be developing.
Okay, where's that letter? I don't see it.
I don't know if you got it, I got a copy of it.
You got a copy of it?
Yeah, I called him up and got a copy.
Can I get a copy of it?
There should be a copy there. I gave it to everybody.
So, the main question is, can it be developed into a park? If it can, that's fine. If it can't, that's no choice. And if it can be, do we want it anyway? If we take it over as far as the liability, if it comes out, we had a death in the park last year.
Where's that?
The tree falling.
It says in here, I don't see it.
I don't want us to be liable for another piece of land that we may or may not develop, or may not be able to develop, or they may not be able to develop it, or nobody, I don't know. But I think that's one of the questions I think we need to find out before any of this moves forward, so that we know what the deal is to the town. If the individual wants to give the land to the Arbor Day, I don't have a problem with it. If the Arbor Day wants to give it to us, we have to be liable for it, and I do have some concerns about whether we need to be liable for the land that we may not even be able to develop. So, I don't know if you were able to find out from DHEC or Corps of Engineers what they actually have listed as, or how they have it listed, or.
As you requested, I sent a letter, email off to Joe Burgo yesterday. I haven't got a response. And I tried to get a hold of him last week, and he's been on vacation. He may not be back yet.
And I think it's
Still
they
haven't
got
got
a county thing, county, kind of like a lift association, the county association, so he may be there at that place. I'm sure he is. But that's why I put it on here, so that we can kind of more discuss what we need to do before we even annex or even decide to annex. And I think from what Joe Burgo has mentioned, they've requested some stuff from Mr. Moore. Once they get that, then they'll consider whether they want to annex it or not, or sign a petition. I don't know. But one of the things that I was told that we need, or they need from us, is a commitment that we're going to maintain the property. If it was annexed into the town and it's given to us. So, I think we need to think about that.
Where does it say you need a letter of commitment saying we're going to maintain the property? I don't see that. Can you show that to me, please? I'm looking at the same letter that you say you got.
For Joe Burgo?
Is this what you got?
They have also requested a letter of commitment from the town of Irmo that they will accept long-term care of the park. And I don't know for us to accept long-term care of the park, especially if we can't develop it. Maybe even now that we can develop it. I agree with, we got parks, this one's well in the outskirts, it's not even where any of our residents would actually use it. I don't see them getting in their car and driving over there when they can get in their car and drive to the park we already got. And I don't really agree that we need to take on liability of any more undeveloped land that we already got, because who knows what can happen, and that's what we're improving it can. So, anyway, that's my discussion. I don't know what else you want to say there.
I've been there, thanks to Mr. Webb. I've seen the land, and not only, I've seen the wetlands part, and know where approximately where the pond is, the large pond. My only thing is, okay, we have 3 parks, and it's not just building them, it's maintaining them, that's expensive.
And liability.
And it's a liability. We don't have anybody down that lives down there. You'd have to go out of your way to go down there. And that concerns me. I sent Jake an email and I said, what about nature trails? Well, Arbor Day would do nature trails or something like that, because it's very suitable for that. It's a pretty piece of land, and if there's good land, and then there's the wetlands, and then there's a pond, and I suspect there could be all type of flora and fauna, things that, just, it could be very, very pretty. I'm not sure we can afford it, and I don't know that any of our citizens would drive down there. But that's just an opinion. I don't know what Jake wants to do with it, or, and he's not here.
I'm here, no, I'm here.
Oh, you're here.
Yeah, I can just respond if it's okay. I mean, nobody has yet said that this is going to be an Irmo Park. We're in the very formative stages of this. We have a man who is committed in November, he's going to give us the property. You're right, it's a beautiful piece of dirt. We talk about, we don't have any citizens down there, but there are citizens down there. And one of the things that we have seen with the Arbor Day Committee is things that happen outside of town impact what happens inside town. Bush River Road is rapidly going down. And if that deterioration continues, as it already has, you're going to see it spill over into Irmo. Now, even though that may be on our borders, I respectfully submit that anything we can do to uplift Piney Grove Road, Bush River Road, and Broad River Road on the upper end, and St. Andrews Road, will certainly basically be a protective buffer type situation for our town. Our town used to be a paper town. All we had was a part-time chief of police and 1 part-time assistant. Now we have a full-service police department. Now we deliver garbage service. Now we deliver zoning and planning. And one of the things that we deliver that you'll find they don't deliver in Chapin, they don't deliver in Lexington, they don't deliver in West Columbia, are a system of parks. We were told that the community park was going to be a horrible nightmare. We were told that the community park was going to be a nuisance. We were told the community park was going to be something that nobody would use. Now, the question I would ask, if someone today would offer us $1.8 million for that community park, would we take it? I submit the answer is no, because it's turned out to be a wonderful thing for the community. What's basically happening is the town of Irmo we're not a business, we are a government. And we try to deliver services to our community. Everything is not a matter of can you get dollars from it. If we were looking to get dollars from something, that piece of property is
probably worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $250,000. About a third of it is wetlands, most of which is a pond. 10 acres of that land, or with a 3-acre pond, is developable. You could put apartments on it, you can put offices on it, you can put all kinds of things on it. And if we can't find somebody to help us, because we're going to take the title of the land either way. We're not even asking the town right now to take it as a park. All we're saying is we would like to have it within the jurisdictional limits of the town of Irmo. We are affiliated with the town of Irmo. We have worked with the town of Irmo. And I dare say that in the last 10 years, we have seen Irmo decline drastically. But I also say that in the last 3 years, we've seen a huge reversal of that. We've had Palmetto Park Ridge come in. We've had 2 new parks. We've had new subdivisions. We've had the landlord ordinance, and we've had many things which have lifted this community back up again. We've got people who are actually considering moving back to Irmo, young people, because they're places where children can go and swing and play. I can tell you that firsthand because my daughter-in-law, who left Irmo because of the schools and because of the community, is now thinking about coming back because of all the green spaces and the services that are basically being offered by the town. Now, if it's strictly a matter of dollars and cents, okay. But we've talked to the folks at Seven Oaks Park, Seven Oaks Recreation Center, and Elizabeth is interested in possibly doing something with us. They're building the soccer fields directly across the street, which are going to be a major uplift. But when those soccer fields go in, there's nowhere for mama to take the kids to basically swing and to go down a sliding board while the kids are playing soccer. I believe that this area, if all we did is go in and forest mow it and put the dam back and put some fish in the pond, that's okay. If Arbor Day has to raise the money itself, we can do that. We can raise the money and build it, and I think I can find somebody to maintain it. You know, we simply, I think that the Arbor Day Committee has done a huge amount the last 15 years to better the town of Irmo. I happen to be very proud of what's been done. I think Councilman Younger's on the committee and has worked as hard as I have, if not harder, to make the Arbor Day Committee work. You know, all we're asking is that, look, we think it's a good idea to have it within the corporate limits of the town. George Glassmeyer's right. There's a low-income project within walking distance of that park. Those are low-income kids. They have issues. They have problems. They have problems that abound with poverty. And as long as we can do something to basically help make their lives a little bit nicer and maybe give them something to do and somewhere to go and somebody to do it with, I don't have a problem with government taking a look at those sorts of issues. But if y'all tell us we don't want it in town, okay. Okay. I mean, I know the mayor doesn't want it. I've been told by members of county council that the county council has been contacted by somebody saying that the town of Irmo doesn't want it and asking them not to give the library. I don't know who did it. I don't know if it was done. All I know is what I was told. That bothers me. If it's going to be done, it should be done in open, and everybody ought to be known who's doing it and why. You know, I brought this thing to the town as soon as that was made available to me by a friend of mine who thought he was doing the town of Irmo and me a favor by giving this property to the Arbor Day Committee and by making it available for annexation to the town. You know, am I telling you that I expect you tonight or any other time to commit to a park? Heck no. All I would like to do is to consider having the property annexed into town so that the Arbor Day Committee can figure out what the heck to do with it, and whatever we do with it can be done in conjunction with and to support our town. But, you know, I'm the chairman of the Arbor Day Committee, but I'm also the town's attorney. People bring me things. You know, Stuart Mungo just gave us 3 acres of land in very close proximity to this town. And I think it may even be adjacent to this 10 acres. I don't know that for sure. I've got to go look at it. Which look at it? Did you look at it, Whit? But we're being given land, and we're told we're going to be given more than this. Some of it, you know, up towards Whitehall. But we're going to take it and do what we can with it. Again, anything that happens, if it happens on Bush River Road, you can bet it's impacting Lake Murray Boulevard. If it's happening in Whitehall or Piney Grove Road, it's impacting what's happening inside this town. And it's true, that property is on the border. But my gracious, if we could do something to beautify and enhance that portion, and at that point in time, folks, if we did it, we now are contiguous to Seven Oaks Shopping Center.
Jake, we don't want 7 Oaks.
Okay.
Have you seen it later?
Well, I know this. The business license fees out of Seven Oaks Shopping Center would be amazing. And
In
But
all honesty,
it gives you an option.
that area is going downhill fast, including on St. Andrew Road, the 6-foot fence with old tires. I mean, it looks horrible. And we have a title company right in front of 7 Oaks Shopping Center.
Oh, yeah.
Sends up red flags.
Look,
And they were going to buy the corner up here too,
The corner one.
McMurray and Woodville.
and right now though, Kathy, right now you have no control over that. Right now you have zero control over that.
Well,
No, but I
and
don't
let
know
me-
that we can do anything.
But I mean, I think I basically responded to what I see going on, and, you know, but if you tell us you don't want it, it's okay.
It's the proximity that bothers me.
well, and let me say a couple of things.
Because of the black people that live over there?
Ain't no black people over there, Hallmark's over there. No,
Oh,
there's no,
to the proximity.
the proximity away from Irmo.
Oh,
It's not near us. You can't walk down there. Is that too bad?
Let me address some issues that were just brought up. Now, at our July 21st meeting, Jake, you did mention that the Arbor Day could not get a grant to build that park, and it would have to come into the town for us. So you did imply at that meeting that you would probably want the town to bring it in. You implied in your letter too, that you that it would require at the very least maintenance from either the town or the party who ultimately owns the park.
Sure.
But you're implying there that, and you did say you'd like to bring it into the town so that we could develop it and get a grant.
Well, now, hold on, now, the grant.
No, you got to talk, and I'm gonna talk.
All right.
That letter was written June 17th. I think we found out about it July 21st. You know, just like this other stuff was brought to our attention, you could have brought this to our attention first. If this were coming from a council member who's elected to serve Irmo and not Bush River Road and not that part of St. I mean, they have their condition in the county. They're not in the town. I'm not elected to beautify that area, to do anything to that area. And you can as the Arbor Day, and the county can. But that's not our responsibility. We have issues in our town right now that we're not addressing. We have abandoned homes that we can't get liens filed on the properties and all that kind of stuff. So there is some concerns. My whole concern is it a wetland? And your letter says it's a significant wetland. And can it be developed? If y'all want to develop, I don't care. But if it needs to come into the town, that's my first concern I want to answer is, can we develop that into a park and being wet? If we can, then this answer is, do we want to? Again, as Kathy said, I don't think it's close to any of our citizens. That area may be going down, our areas are going down. I think that's typical for older neighborhoods. We can address all that. We spend time and energy addressing all that. That's not our concern. And again, this is a council decision. You are a town attorney and you are over the Arbor Day. Those get sometimes I think kind of confused. I've talked to Joe Berger, and I've talked to some other people. I think I have every right to. I think I should.
Sure you do.
If you're insinuating that no council member should talk to anybody down there about this property, I think that's a little bit off track.
No, what he's saying is that you can't call and say that the town of Irmo doesn't want it.
I can call and tell them I'm not interested, and I sure
You said
can.
the town of Irmo.
I did not say the town of
What'd you
Irmo.
say?
I said I'm not. And I told him I speak on behalf of
The way
me.
I
I'm
understand
not.
it was the town of Irmo.
Well, you
Speaking
can read
for
the letter
entire
from them
council.
that it says
And the
me.
entire council didn't say
It
that.
says me, it doesn't say council. And if Jake wants to get the letter from Code Virgo or whoever, or Johnny Jeffco, it says me. It doesn't
Almost
say.
a letter from Richland County, I don't know if the letter.
Well, you have to wait for them to get that. All I'm saying is, we're putting a whole bunch of carts before the horse, and I think we need to find out first, is that in a flood zone? How much it is, how much it is buildable? If out of that 10 acres, that 3-acre pond is the only thing that's not buildable, and it's not in a wetland, I would imagine he could grade that thing over like Derek Pond and build on. As far as that pond having water in it or not, I mean, Walmart couldn't build on a creek right into their parking lot because of gutter. And there's nothing in that creek today, never has been anything in that creek. But they call it a wetland. Why, I don't know, I don't care, but all I know is if it's in a wetland, then we just need to find out, what can we do with the property? Can we develop it? And if so, do we want to?
Hardy, you can
And
build
then
a park in a
then we can kind of
wetland.
go from there.
You can build a park in a wetland.
Well.
The Congaree Park is
If
in a
we couldn't build
wetland.
a park on the wetland through here, we had to leave that creek alone.
We
could
couldn't
on
build-
both sides of it, but we couldn't build on it. That's why I want to know how much of that land is where we can and cannot do anything to it. And then we can decide, but.
It's
if you
about-
already know, I don't think we need another park, I don't think we need another park over there. But that's
But-
my decision. And
It's about a 30% of that property is wetlands, and a large portion of that wetlands is basically the basin of the pond and the creek.
then why don't he build on everything else that's not in wetland?
He giving it to us as a gift to the
The builder is
architect.
going to give us land that he can build on, and he's building on the rest of it.
Yes, he is.
That would send up a big flag to me, and that's why I asked the question. I want to see how much of it is in a wetland and how much of it is.
It is, okay.
But I
All-
think Bob can take care of it. When we get it all back, then we can decide if it's something we're interested in or not. And council can always move forward in. But in my opinion, if it's across the street from Saluda Shoals, I would think they would. I don't
Well,
know.
and one of the things that I've talked to Saluda Shoals about is the possibility of them taking title, and they can apply
Yeah,
for the
we
grant.
can.
And I've talked to Elizabeth about that, and she has indicated that they are interested in that. I still think you're better off if you have it within the town limits, because it gives you so many more potentials to basically expand the limits of the town and to control what is going on our outskirts, which is basically going to eventually eat us if we don't do something about it. But that's just my opinion, and that's not, you're right, I wasn't elected, I just work for you.
But Jake, remember, when you brought Veterans Park, we jumped all over it.
Mhm.
Well, some of us jumped. Because it was an excellent location. I think that's the only thing against this is the location.
Okay.
Yeah, and
I
that
think
thing
it's
can
a
be
pretty
walked
good-
through by the people in that way.
It's used, Veterans Park's used quite a bit.
We
We
can
jumped,
be-
they're right at the head.
And we may ultimately wind up selling this piece of property. But if we sell it, I would much prefer for it to be developed within the town limits of Irmo than inside the county. I mean, we've had people actually come to us talking about wanting to buy the thing. Just very, very tangentially, because they've learned that Wade's going to give it to us. And we basically said, no, we're going to make a public use out of it, we hope, because that's what we do. But I mean, we're not talking though here about doing anything other than annexing it. I mean, we've annexed wetlands before.
Yeah, and I'm not opposed to annexing that property if that guy's building on it, but I don't want to annex with the assumption that we're going to take this property over. And before we get to that, I think we need to clarify that so we all know.
I don't
want
want-
to come back 6 months from now after we've annexed it and then decide, oh, we can't even build it, now we got it, and we're just waiting for more trees to fall out, hit kids or cars or who knows what, and we're liable. And there's nothing we can do because when we get it, we can't give it back to somebody.
I think every time that I've talked about this issue with council, I have explained that this is in the incredibly formative stages, and nobody is asking the town to commit to do anything except annex it.
No, you asked us at July 21st that you would like to see the property come into town so that we could apply for the grant. And in your letter, you implied to them that the town would be possibly receiving the property. And that's when they asked, are we going to maintain it?
I said that it might be, and I talked about the third party that would own
Yeah,
it. That would include the town as well as the potential for the park. And also the potential that Arbor Day could actually keep it. And we can build the thing ourselves if we decide we want to. We can raise the money to do that if we wanted to. But I mean, I thought I made myself fairly clear the times I've approached. I am not asking the town to commit to anything right now as far as that.
Now, you asked us to write a letter to Bill Scarborough that said we were interested in an annex.
Annexing, that's all.
Yeah, well, I mean,
That's all. That's all.
that's not all the letter said. I read
That's all.
that too, and I can see the implication that you want us to possibly take it over at some point. And it may be great, but
You sent that letter off, Bob? You sent that letter off?
No, I got the first letter, made some changes to it, and I got the second letter here, and the council approves it also. But they didn't have it on their agenda last week, so there was no rush.
any more discussion?
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Next is the discussion of 118 Vulture Slot Road and something like this. Let's start off with that.
Yeah, we got a letter from, one of our residents, Mr. Marion Brown, about a situation in the back of his house. Apparently, several years ago, we had some, I guess we kind of place, great little magnolia trees. We had some magnolia trees that were planted in the back of his yard, across the back of his property. Anyway, when this was done, apparently it was, four trees were planted inside his property line as opposed to on the right of way. And basically, Mr. Marion wrote us this letter stating that he'd like to get that situation corrected. Either, from what I can understand, is that the property was about 15, it was 5 trees or something like that.
Probably 6 or something like that behind there.
Yeah.
The name is Marion Brown. I'm sorry to interrupt on your meeting with us tonight.
Hold on.
Okay.
What we'll do is, we're gonna talk
Okay.
first, and if somebody needs to add something, they can, but we have to talk here.
So basically, you read the letter, I read the letter, and Mr. Brown was not in agreement with the, I guess, the location of the trees, or he may have been in agreement with the trees were planted, but the actual location of the trees is what he's not in agreement of. And we need to get that either corrected, or he wants compensation for it. And I believe he wants, $7,500.
Has this ever come up before that any of us remember? Harvey's not here, he would have the longest memory on this.
Not on that project.
No,
What do you mean, does it come up about trees on his property?
on anybody's property, that later will remember. Okay, what I'm asking is, how do we cover that?
But for one, they're on private property. So we can't go on somebody's property.
You got it right here, here, he wants to cut down.
Well, I didn't see that, maybe I missed it out. I don't think it should cut them down.
It's not on there.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So what does he want the 7,500 for?
Basically, if, what I'm reading is, we planted 5 trees.
Yeah, 5 trees.
5 trees on his property, many years ago, when it was 6, 7, or 8 or whatever.
And we know it's on his property by survey.
Well,
Yeah,
there's
you can
stakes
look at
in the
it.
ground.
I looked at it.
You can see it's on his property.
There's stakes in the ground closer to the road than the tree line.
Okay.
And there's also,
But we haven't done a survey, is all I'm
right,
saying.
well,
I haven't done a
his
survey.
stakes are in the ground. You can see his stakes.
Yeah, I need to see a plat and survey.
And then, if you look at his old bush stumps, the trees were even planted inside closer to his home instead of closer to the road. So if the trees of his are on his property, then these are definitely not because they're inside of that. But the issue is, how they got planted there, I don't know. If you look at if you go stand in the neighbor's yard and look up towards Harvey's house, and you look at the whole tree line, these are like 3 or 4 foot inside of it, probably closer to 3.
Yes, I saw it.
Inside of it. So how they got there, I don't know. But they're there. And that's
they've been
it.
there 7 years.
And they've been there.
They hadn't been there 7 years. Those, you see, what it was, those trees really have been there between 3 to 4 years, maybe 5. But they hadn't been there 7 years. That I know for a fact. I moved there 23 years ago, okay? And there was a hedgerow there. There was a wooden fence and a chain link fence. And the tornado came through. We had a pretty bad tornado there about 16, 17 years ago. And it tore everything out except the hedgerow. And so Mr. Witt, when they were revitalizing all of the property there on Woodrow Street, coming up with those magnolia trees and, you know, some other types there too. And he talked with me. He asked me, he says, you know, would you want to change these out and I can put in the new magnolia trees? I said, yeah. I said, these trees, you know, they've gotten the best of me. I can't handle them anymore, the hedgerow. And certainly, he said, okay, they'll replace them. They removed all of the hedgerow in there. And so I never worried about it anymore. I really didn't. And my stake is right there on my property, north to south. Boom, boom. The trees were planted inside the line. Not that I paid that much of attention to it because I didn't have to worry about the hedge line anymore. They're beautiful trees. They're really nice. They're not the huge magnolia trees, but they're nice size. And so my wife and I had started discussing this thing several months ago about the fact that perhaps we probably do need to put a fence in there because those trees are not going to grow that large. And lo and behold, that's, you know, the discovery on the thing. But those trees have been there about 3 to 5 years. I don't think it's been 5. But I feel like it's encroachment. It's just that bad. It's not the fact that, you know, it's several inches inside. They're way inside. And the hedgerow that had been there, all of the stumps were there. And the trees came inside the stumps. All I had to do was follow the stumps. I mean, you know, you look down the line, boom, you can see it. But anyway, the mayor came out there. He saw it. Mr. Walker saw it. He said, yeah, you saw it. It's plain as day. So that's all I was asking. I said, okay, well, it's encroachment on my property. It's been that way for 4 or 5 years. And the fact that your trees have sat there and grown and prospered, and it's on my property. And I asked for $1,500 per tree, plus $500 for my letter. I wrote a letter. I had to write a letter to the, and you got a copy of it. And so I said $8,000. And that's because the mayor instructed me. He says, you will, no, not that he did anything wrong. He just told me, said, you will have to ask for adequate compensation because that's what I asked for. And that's what I came up with. That hadn't been discussed. It hadn't been promised to me, nothing. It's just the fact that I'm here.
Let me say this. You said you wanted adequate compensation, and I said, well, how much do you want? And you said, I don't know. And I said, well, you need to decide that, not us.
Right, and I did.
And that's when I told you, you just write a letter.
And I wrote the letter and I put it in the letter. And that's where we are tonight.
We'll take it from there.
If
So
we
it
have
is-
encroached, and we are sorry, we will remove them, stump it off. I'm happy to.
Well, we could dig them up.
Let's
Instead of
go with
cutting
the stump
down.
it off.
Oh, I'm going, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But why would we pay $8,000? Why would we do that?
Well, we have to figure out either we have to remove the trees or we need to compensate them for it.
But it says in here he liked it. I agree.
I don't think you have a copy of my letter. I really don't.
Yeah, we got it.
I got a copy of it. I mean, just, you know, he's asking for compensation for the trees, for the encroachment.
That he agreed to be planted.
That's what I'm saying. He's saying that he did.
You see, Ms. Condon, I agreed for those trees to be planted there. That's very true. But I didn't agree for them to be planted on my property. You see, that's the difference here. It's easy to plant the trees there along the line with everybody else's along that line. Why is mine so far inside?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
But we'll remove them for you
Let's see.
and make it
I tell you what, I'm a combat veteran. Let me say this. I really am. I spent 5 years in the military, 2 in South Vietnam, 2 of those months were in Cambodia, a total of 26 months. I'm the only living squad leader in my platoon. Sergeant Ward is dead, Sergeant Brock is dead, Bodett is dead. I came back from the war in 1971, okay? I have PTSD. I'm on Prozac and Blue Spot, just to let you know. And I bought a brand new car. And fighting the demons because they follow you from the battlefield. And I was drinking. And I told the police. And he says, you know, he says, I understand, I know where you've been, know what you did, but I'm sorry. Every man pays for his mistake, you see. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. That's been embedded in my head. I have a real estate broker's license. I never really got to use it because I wasn't allowed to do anything. I'm a disabled veteran, 100%, permanent and total. You know, nice check, retired, state government, and I draw Social Security disability. So it's not about the money. It's about a wrong that was done to me, and I asked for compensation for it. It'd been nice if that policeman had told me and says, hey, you can go home for the night. You don't have to go to jail. I'm from Camden. They got driving jails over there. At least they had them in 1970. 71. They drove me right inside. You see? And I had to get SR-22 and all that stuff. I had DUI. But they didn't let me go. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. So what you are doing, Mrs. Condon, is trying to tell me that the town of Irmo is not at fault for what they did. And I'm trying to tell you I expect compensation for what happened. I don't know how it's going to come out, but I think right is right. I've always paid for everything I did wrong. If I did it wrong, I was required to pay.
Will you allow us to fix the wrong?
I don't care about you fixing the wrong. I asked for compensation, and I did what the mayor asked me.
That's one
But-
solution.
Right,
But
right, right.
Moving the trees is another solution.
No.
That's the solution.
I like where the trees sit.
Okay, so you want.
So suppose that I want the trees, but it's on my property, so they're my trees now.
All right.
Correct?
All right, so the trees are yours.
Right.
They're on your property.
Mhm.
And you like them the way they are.
Mhm.
So you don't want us to remove the trees.
I don't know yet. It depends on how you vote on the compensation aspect.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Compensation is one solution.
Mm-hmm.
Another solution is gonna be to remove the trees and
See,
get the property back the way it was.
The trees became mine when they were put there erroneously, okay? They became mine.
Okay.
And I have the say-so and the right over those trees at this time. But I'm saying that your tree sat there for several years, sucking up the nutrients out of my soil on my property, and I'm asking you to compensate me for it. That's all I'm saying.
The only solution you used to say is that compensation and that's it.
Well, it can be that way. You don't have to touch those trees. The mayor told me, he says, we'll move them back for you, aside from that. That's what he told me last week right in my backyard.
Right.
See? So it's okay, but the only thing I'm trying to say is, when you mess up, every man is responsible for his transgressions. And I have to pay for mine. I had to pay for mine. You see what I'm saying? And I'm not, I'm a resident of the town of Irmo. You never had me in your jail. You never had me, you had to come to my house and say, Brown is up there drunk. You know, you got PTSD, blah, blah, blah. I take my Prozac religiously, every day, along with my blue spot. It's up here, you see. So I pay a price for fighting for this country. That's what I have to do every day. And then when I mess up, I still pay a price. And so when you mess up, then you pay the price. And that's all I'm saying. And it's nothing personal, it's just business. That's all it is.
Okay, Mr. Brown, for years, we had a program, and I'm using this as an example, and if we bought a crepe myrtle or a magnolia,
Mhm.
the town would come plant it in your yard.
Mhm.
And I bought one,
Mhm.
because I thought, this is a good idea. We're gonna have trees and beautiful things all over town. I think about 50 people bought them. All of those people could come back now and say, well, you put it in the wrong spot. And could ask, I'm just saying, this could get the ball rolling and cost the town a fortune. And if we made a mistake, we're sorry, and I don't think we're meant to make a mistake.
Well, I know what to say to you. Come across with the compensation for the trees, and then
And
I'll
pass
make
those?
ma'am, I'll make a decision on those trees. They're sitting on my property. If I decide to remove them, then I can remove them. Or if you want to come along and let you remove them, I don't know. I ask for compensation for what happened to me on my property. And I've had to live with that stigma, that type of thing. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. I was told that.
Well,
I learned that.
let me say this.
Yes, sir?
Because this is on here for discussion only, we're not voting.
Right, right.
But we have a couple options. As Councilman Walker said, you know, with your permission, we could dig them up and move them, but you said pretty much no. The other thing is, we could plant more in line where they should be planted back here, so that everything's in line, and let him have them trees, and they're no longer ours, and he can do whatever he wants to with them. We could pay him something, or we could pay him nothing. We could pay him something in between. The only question that hasn't been asked, and I need to ask so that we all know, is, now, I think you said you called somebody, and this was done in late 2008?
I emailed the former administrator because he was in charge during that time I wasn't. And it said late 2008 or 2009 when the program and council approved the do the project down with those trees with the arbor day.
I was thinking it was somewhere in that realm, because I knew it was, say, long enough that I could still remember, but long enough that I couldn't remember exactly when. The other thing is, and I'm gonna ask it, just straight out ask it, why didn't you come to us in the first year? And say, hey, these are on my property, get them out of here.
You know, just like they put the fence next door to me a few years ago, I didn't pay no attention then. I really didn't. I really did not. Not that I should have, but I was so glad that those hedgerows were gone. They were beautiful. I didn't pay it any attention. I didn't even cut grass back there. The guy, most of rich people would come along
We
there.
cut those down too.
He would come along there. Huh?
We cut those down.
Cut.
So,
Make room for the tree.
and this is just my little side thing,
Huh.
we ain't supposed to be on private property cutting people's trees down, or plant them on their property.
It was after the tornado.
No.
Oh, lady, this was a long time after the tornado. Okay. My point, my point is this.
Well, what we can do
Mhm.
is, because this is on here for discussion, so we can all kind of talk about it and we think about it. Or we have what we call executive session, and at that time, somebody can ask for an executive session. And we can go in and discuss it and make a recommendation.
We don't need an executive session. The man has asked for
Right.
compensation.
But there are some legal issues that Kathy brought up about everybody else's property and everybody down that road, and whether.
I'm not worried about everybody else. I'm worried
Well,
about
I
this
am.
man right
Yeah,
here.
worried about it.
This man right here is the one complaining.
I'm gonna tell you something else, Miss Condon.
Is you want to address his issues, or you don't want to address his issues?
Well, it's
You don't
on
even
here
know
for
why.
discussion, so it's not on here.
You can drive down that road, and there's not one single soul on that road has those trees on their property except.
Probably right, I don't know. Or everything along that road is on private property too. I don't
Well,
know.
my stakes are there.
Yeah, yours are, so.
They're there. Listen to that. Your trees became mine inside.
Concern is,
They
even
leave
if we,
yours? It's fine.
if we had planted them in line with all those other things that are planted,
There must have been a reason.
they are still probably on private property. Because his stakes are back behind the other trees.
Not only that, where the stumps are, the trees are inside the stumps. The stumps was on my line. It was even on that side.
Do a survey of water, or, because
First, got to establish survey, new survey.
we need something, the DOT, and I don't know, they can do something that shows where their right-of-way ends along that road.
Well,
you'd
we
have to do it.
survey all the way down the road, probably costs $15,000-$20,000. To do a survey all the way down with those trees, wherever.
Like DOT come out there, mark it, measure, do whatever, and say, this is where our local right-of-way ends.
Well,
Can we measure it?
They might come out with their, like the pubs guys.
Yeah.
But that's what, 2-3 feet. They won't give you an actual without a
We
survey.
can
going
measure
out there.
from the center of that yellow line, whatever, 18, 20 foot over, and say, okay, here's a good guess.
Well, I mean, we're guessing now, I would, if you're gonna pay to do a survey,
I'm gonna pay $20,000
traffic, that's all the way down Woodruff Street. You just want to be behind Mr. Brown's house, maybe another 2 houses, maybe 15, 2,000.
If his trees are here and his stakes are here, but all the other trees along Woodrow Street are here, then that would tell me everybody up and down that road, the trees are on their property, not on DOT's. Because his stakes are even back behind the tree line where all the other trees are planted, if I remember correctly.
The stakes are pins.
The pins, the metal
Yes,
pins.
okay.
right.
Okay.
And if you go stand on the metal pins and look, all the other trees up and down the road are here, not.
And I look, and you're right.
Pins are accurate, you don't need to survey,
And I
just
kept
go out there with a
over.
line.
You don't really need anything. All you need is a good eyesight, and you can see it. It really doesn't require anything. You can do a $20,000 survey by DOT or anybody you want. All you'll be doing is wasting town money. Those trees are definitely
Yeah,
out of
yours are,
line.
but I'm talking about the neighbors. All the other neighbors, are they on private property or are they on DOT?
They own DOT property.
But they're planted inside of your state line. All
Whatever.
of them. And I doubt that property goes like that.
Look, let's
So-
cut this case. Right? On the next agenda, will you please put on there an action item to compensate Mr. Marion Brown $4,000 for his trees? You hear me, Bob? Got
Now,
it?
it's five, Mr. Walker. You said
I'm
5,000?
saying, you saying you want 8, and I'm saying 4.
You're
Okay?
gonna be lucky to get a four.
That's an up or down vote, yes or no? Is that?
What's that?
You're gonna be lucky to get four.
I know because, first of all, I know that you're gonna vote against me. I already know that. That was decided when you started talking tonight. It's not a problem.
Because I don't like to give away money.
Well, it's not the fact that you're giving away money. It's just the fact that you're doing the right thing.
Got it?
That's all. That's all it is.
Since it's involves a financial, it's like a lawsuit, I think our attorney needs to. have a-
Well, that's why I said we probably need to have an executive session, because you can ask for one, and we can go in, and we can get a little bit more, and then we can still have it on the agenda and better able to decide something by next time.
Well, let's do that.
That's fine, as long as you put it on the agenda next meeting, gives the man $4,000 for this conversation.
But it could be amended to 2, or 3, or 1, or who knows what, I mean, or 8.
Exactly.
So is everybody-
I offered 4, okay?
The same way?
He wants 8, I offered 4.
Yes, you can
I
have
will
it.
not be on the agenda next week. That crepe myrtle's on the wrong part of my yard.
Okay.
All right, next item is discussion of public works relationship with the architect. This is something I put on there. And this is exactly why I asked for this to be on here. And I think from what I read in the administrative briefing, we do not have a written policy. We have a verbal. And I think in some meeting, because since I've been serving, I want to say either once or twice we've discussed this, as we're discussing now, but we still have nothing anywhere that says anything. And I'm gonna say this politely, but it seems like every time we have this discussion, we had, where was it on, along the interstate, over at Southland Law, a couple years ago, or somewhere out there, we had this same issue. Stuff got planted too far on DOT's right away, we had to go out there. It was a big hoopla argument, discussion, and we had to move, the stuff. I know down here at St. Andrew's Press, we planted trees along there, they whacked a few of them down, because we're in front of their signs or something like that, I don't know. But I think we need some clearer communication as to where we plant stuff, because we seem to be getting into these discussions that somehow or another we plant stuff on private property. When I thought we had an agreement, you never plant stuff on private properties, or at least without some kind of written something. Do we even know what the verbal agreement is? Basically, this says they buy, we plant.
Where's the agreement that we don't plant stuff on private property?
I think that was a verbal agreement years ago, we don't.
That's not an agreement, that's state law, we can't go on private property.
But we do, we have.
As a
We are.
government without permission. That's different.
Well,
Where's that, I don't remember seeing that anywhere, where's that?
Well, I'll see if I can get the law, I mean, if like a police officer really can't go on private property without being asked if there's an incident.
What?
We can't just go walk on somebody's
yeah,
yard
they
and
can,
plant
they
a
can't just
tree
go walk.
A sworn officer can't go on somebody's property and get approved?
without having a call. some kind of a reason, is that not correct?
Jake,
Excuse me. We can't go on private property, we don't. What we do is this.
Are you talking about the police or the architect?
Arbor Day Committee does not, I mean, the public works department does not do work on private property.
Well,
If the work is to be.
we got 5 trees here that disagree, so I know we shouldn't, but we do.
If those were put there, it was put there by mistake, because I understand it talking to Wits, because the property was told to align with us. But we have a policy that we don't. If those 5 trees are over the line, it's there by mistake. But there's no, man has absolutely no claim at all. Statute of limitations is run, there are no damages. His basic remedy is exactly right. If he wants to move, we'll move him. Even though you're not even required to do that, you can cut it down. But there is no claim in that. Now, if they were over the line, and that's a mistake, then that was a mistake. But Wits does not do work.
2 or 3 foot inside of the line is
It's a mistake.
it's more than a mistake. If somebody gave me a shovel and said, here, dig me some holes and plant me some trees and don't get on this guy's property, first thing I would look for is to be in line with everything else along that road. Why I would be inside of his dead bushes that I've just cut down, I would have to be, I don't know, or something, I don't know. I mean, they're not like they are in 2 inches, 6 inches, they're 3 foot. I mean, it's just, and the line is here, the trees are here. I mean, it just, I don't know how that happened either, I don't care.
When the Arbor Day Committee.
I do know that we get into this trouble with stuff planted on private property. And frankly, I don't know if I ever heard of Whit doing that when he was doing town business. It's always had something to do with Arbor Day. All I'm saying is somehow or another,
Hey, we'll just close it down. We'll
this
shut down
just
Arbor Day
is
Committee.
getting,
We'll have it all.
you know, hey,
That's all right.
all you gotta do is get it in line. Maybe we need a written policy that says
We'll close it.
town or Bob or somebody has to approve it.
It'll work. The St. Andrews people want us to be doing work we do, we'll just move down and start doing work. That'll be all right.
So, any more discussion? On that?
Well, we certainly don't want you to move.
No.
Well,
We could have a better
it is
relationship with
frustrating.
an agreement.
There's
This happened
been
over and over and over
there's been
again.
one instance that I know of, that there has been a problem with quitcline doing work on private property, and it's this one.
This one,
This one.
and on DOT, at the interstate, and, you know, we had a problem last year with the park down there with nobody knowing where the grant came from, and then your name and his name showed up, that's all I know.
Okay, well, let's just talk about the issue we're talking about, doing work on private property. The only work I know about is this gentleman's claim. He has no claim. But, apparently, that may or may not have been over the line. Apparently it was.
have you seen the property, sir?
Sir, I'm talking.
Well, hold on.
Have you seen the property?
Yes.
When?
I'm not.
All right, hold on, I'm gonna just, you know,
I'm about
we've
to
seen it,
stop.
we know, we're the ones that's gotta look at it, and we'll decide what to go on from there. All I'm saying is we need to work a written something so that this don't happen anymore. It has happened out there at DOT in front of Southland or Oak Place or one of those places a couple years ago. Same thing, it's planted in the wrong place without permission.
We need a what, a written what?
It just says that we're gonna plant trees, it needs to be approved by Bob or town, so we know where they are, and this don't happen anymore. Evidently, we can't plant them right getting on.
It happened twice, sorry, that's true.
Well,
Okay, we can go in executive session to
for
discuss.
the other item.
Okay, what's next on your
Next is the
discussion?
flooding issue with Shillingford and Charles Cross, and Mr. Walker, the rest of that, and I'll let you read off from there.
Mr. Ternesky came and presented to us last week about his flooding issues, and I went down there and looked at it. And what's happened is that for some reason the capacity of those drainage lines and those ponds in the back have been maxed out with the amount of rain that they get now. It's not an everyday event, so we have those big, heavy monsoon type rains. So basically, Mr. Charnesky's property is one of the major ones that gets trashed, but he's not the only house that's involved in this. There's several other houses in that area, they get flooded out. And those people, I don't know if those people complain to you, Bob? Does anybody else complain to you?
No, sir, he's the only one that's
Okay,
complained to us.
I don't know why not, but
Didn't the lady on?
across the street from Mr. Charneski, their house is flooded out, and I mean, his house is flooded out anywhere. The sheet rock has been removed from the house, the carpets have been taken out. At any rate, what I'd like to see us do, and if we could do this, is put together a coalition of all those homes that are affected. I think there's about 10 homes that are affected in that area, and look at them putting together some sort of fund or something like that, and have the town back it so that we can get an engineering, not the survey done, but the actual engineering work done. We already got the survey from Dennis. It says what's happening back there, but get the actual work done. Now, what I was going to suggest is that, let's say that there's 10 houses back there that are affected by the flooding. If we, put Bob and say, hey, Bob, go find out from these 10 houses, will those people be willing to put $1,000 or so into a fund so they can get some work done and get this flooding situation corrected? Now, by doing that, let the town take the lead as far as securing all the contracts and whatever needs to be done, but let these people participate in the solution, in the sense that they're pumping, some money so we can get the situation straight. Because right now, as it stands right now, those properties are worthless. They can't sell them. They can't, I don't know how in the world Mr. Troneski is living in that place. So every time he has a heavy rain, he's basically moved. And he's not the only one. There's other people in the area. And I'm sure that they would be interested in working a solution altogether, because certainly the drainage situation is just overwhelming. It's at the capacity to take when we have these heavy rain events. And the only way to fix it is to take this engineering study that we got from Dennis and put it into motion and get it fixed. So that's what I was looking at, trying to put together as a, I don't know what you call it, development corporation or something like that.
Any more discussion? Next item then is presentation by a citizen. This is where anyone who would like to address Irmo Town Council on anything, whether it's on the agenda or not on the agenda, may do so at this time. All we ask is you give us your name and address for the record. Anyone who would like to address council? Seeing none. Next item is executive session. Is there one needed? Is there a motion?
I think there is. For what? I'm sorry, what'd you say?
This is for
For a contractual matter.
contractual or legal?
Okay, legal matter.
And
What legal matters is voted?
When we need to go.
118 voters left.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? We will go into an executive session. There'll be no votes taken, and we will not adjourn until we come back out.
Is that to discuss 118 Bolson's law?
Yeah, legal matter to discuss 118 voters left.
Jake,
Yes, ma'am.
we need you.
All right.
We ready?
Ready.
We are back in executive session, no votes were taken. Next item is adjournment. Is there a motion for adjournment?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.